The story begins on the continent of Canaan, which is ruled by three great kingdoms who are always at war with each other. However, an ancient monster called Dagon Zot wakes up from its long slumber and is now threatening the well-being of everyone on the continent. There is no force on the continent that can face it alone. And whenever it wakes up, it lays waste to entire towns and countries and destroys everything with its massive claws and destructive flames. It is so strong that no one has ever even managed to slow it down enough for the people to escape the destruction, and it always ends up claiming thousands of lives. 10 years before the present day, the three great kingdoms join forces and task humanity's strongest mage and swords which to seal Dagon Zot up once and for all. One night we see a boy named Hero gather a force of cloaked mages alongside his legendary parents to conduct the sealing ritual. Once the purple moon rises, the purple-haired sword which decides to use herself as bait to lure the evil dragon out with her two juicy plots. Soon a massive shadow appears on the ground, and two massive claws come out of it, followed by the hideous dragon who lets out a massive roar before deciding to have the mage's wife for dinner. As the dragon approaches her, she breaks her chains and casts a binding spell to hold Dagon Zot in place. Taking this chance, the mages around her cast a massive barrier spell led by her husband Beiro and their son Hero, who joins him with a magical mirror, and they all begin the ritual to seal the ancient dragon. Everything looks good, but then suddenly someone shoots Beiro in the back with an arrow and he falls to the ground like a noob. Despite his injury, he urges them to continue the sealing ritual, but Zot breaks free and rushes toward Hero to strike him down. To save his son, the Beiro casts a powerful spell that drives the dragon back in pain, leaving a massive scar across his chest. But for some reason, a similar scar also appears on Hero's chest. After taking the spell, Zot decides to unleash its flame breath and burns everything in sight. But thanks to his father's protective spell, Hero manages to survive. 10 years later, Hero has grown up and we see him wandering through different lands wearing a cloak with a giant sword strapped to his back. He keeps traveling until he reaches a new city where guards are checking everyone before letting them in. Hero joins the line, and when his turn comes, one of the guards becomes shocked after looking at his face and lets him pass without any trouble. Hero roams around the city exploring its streets until he notices a little girl announcing the arrival of someone named Nambuko, who rides in a grand chariot surrounded by guards and soldiers. The rich merchant showers the crowd with bronze coins, pretending to be generous, and everyone bows down and starts fighting over the coins. One of the coins falls next to Hero, but as he tries to pick it up, a little kid named Peshate snatches it and runs away. But then his gang's vice leader slaps the coin out of his hand and tells him not to take Nambuko's money because he's just distributing the money he took from them in the first place. One of the boys says that if he were to steal something, it would be the Grand Trova, which is a magical item said to grant any wish, including unlimited food and wealth forever. But their leader tells them to forget about it, saying it's impossible to steal the Grand Trova and warns them to leave before they get in trouble. Still, Peshate stays behind after seeing the Grand Trova up close and decides to sneak onto the chariot when no one is looking, but unfortunately for him, Nambuko notices him inside the chariot. Meanwhile, Hero notices a man on the street claiming he has the rare crest of dragon warding that once belonged to the legendary hero Dalhabard who defeated the evil dragon. But the man's version of the story is completely different from what Hero knows happened for sure. Suddenly, one of the street boys snatches the crest from the man and runs off, but his massive bodyguard Hakai catches the kid and lifts him into the air. The man orders him to punch the kid a few times to teach him a lesson, but before the massive pigman can do anything, Hero steps in and places his massive blade against the guard's ugly face, warning him not to make him use it. The man says that the crest is in her and he can't just let anyone steal it, so Hero offers a gold coin to buy it off him. The man agrees and thanks Hero before walking away. On the other hand, the little thief complains that Hero ruined his plan because he was distracting the bodyguard so his gang could steal more goods. After that, the boy quickly snatches the crest from Hero's hands, saying he's taking it as a fee, and runs off with his friends. They escape to their hidden base inside the city, but Hero sneaks into their hideout and takes back the crest. He asks the leader for his name and the kid says it's Timit. Hero then shows him the crest and says that it belongs to him, and then jumps off the window and starts running across rooftops with the kids chasing him through narrow alleys. Meanwhile, a mysterious man named Juru walks through the market asking everyone about Hero while showing his sketch. His partner Palupa says that this is most likely the first city Hero will come to because he took a whole month's worth of expenses before running away. On the other side of the city, the mayor of the city hosts a grand dinner for Nambucco, who pressures him into selling all of his majesty to him. The mayor worries about rising prices due to Nambucco's monopoly on the mineral and the unrest it might cause. But Nambucco threatens him with his forces and says that controlling the masses is easy using fear and that he should accept his offer. After that, his partner Sherishar brings out the Grand Trova and says that if he accepts their offer, they will use it for his benefit. Just then someone uses a small dragon-like creature to steal the Grand Trova with its sticky tongue. But Sherishar uses her magic to blow the mansion's roof open and causes Pet to fall down with the Grand Trova. Back in the city, Hiro is having the time of his life while getting chased by the street gang. As they chase him across rooftops, one of the boys falls down, but Hiro grabs his arm and saves him. Suddenly a boy calls out to Timit and tells him that Peshate has been caught stealing the Grand Trova and is about to be executed. Hearing this, the kids instantly run to save their friend, leaving Hiro behind, making him wonder about the idea of friendship. At dawn we see Peshate tied with ropes in the town square, but the crowd gathered to watch his execution. Nambucco and the mayor watch the scene from the balcony, where Nambucco tells the mayor that this execution will serve as a good example to instill fear in his people, but before the boy gets slaughtered, Hiro walks out from the crowd and tells Sherishar to stop. He introduces himself as a wandering swordsman and says that they are going too far with this punishment. Hearing this, Sherishar laughs and orders the soldiers to get rid of the poor-looking swordsman, but instead of freaking out, Hiro simply smiles and says that it has been a while since he got goosebumps like this, and then goes on to absolutely destroy all of them like Ichigo Kurosaki. Sherishar rejoins the fight and shoots him with her lightning spell, but Hiro dodges it skillfully and then strikes down the soldiers in front of her. At first it looks cool, but then the soldiers realize that Hiro's sword didn't do any damage to them at all. Sherishar asks what Hiro is doing here with that toy and orders everyone to surround him. Things start looking bad for our hero, but then Juru appears out of the blue and joins Hiro alongside Palupa. Tamid's gang takes this chance to rescue Peshate and get out of there. Palupa tells Juru that it's his fault for telling Hiro that he would become a master swordsman in 10 years. And then he turns to Hiro and says that he can't even hurt Dagon Zot at his level, much less defeat it. Seeing all this, Sherisharu grabs the Grand Trova and prepares to make them all turn to dust using a strong spell. Hiro recognizes the blue item and says that it's the sealing item that belonged to his dad, which makes Nambucco wonder who Hiro was. But then he says that it doesn't matter as he turns around to walk back in, thinking Sherishar's attack will destroy them anyway. Things look really bad for Hiro and his gang. But just before the attack can hit them, a massive shadow appears on the ground and a claw comes out of it, blocking the attack before sending it back into a mountain. After that, the massive evil dragon Dagon Zot comes out of the shadows, surprising everyone, revealing the massive marking on his chest similar to Hiro's. Seeing the evil dragon, Hiro becomes blinded by his thirst for revenge and unleashes a flurry of attacks against the massive dragon. But the dragon easily captures him and knocks him unconscious. Jiru swoops in to help Hiro, but the soldiers around them start raining down arrows on Dagon Zot, some of which are aimed at Jiru and Hiro as well. But before they can get hit, Dagon Zot saves them and then knocks down the soldiers around them before vanishing back into the Shadow Realm and getting out of there. Seeing all this, Nambucco starts laughing and tells the mayor that Terror is finally revived. And if he has the power to save his people from the evil dragon, they will fear him for all their lives and obey him. He says that Dagon Zot has reawakened for his use and walks out of there, setting their course for the land where wishes die. The story then shifts to the thieves' hideout where Hiro lies unconscious. Jiru recalls events from 10 years ago when Hiro's parents tried to seal Dagon Zot inside the buffer zone located between the three powerful kingdoms. Hiro's mother Kismetit sacrificed herself to draw the dragon out, while his father Beiro performed a sealing ritual using a sacred mirror and 100 powerful sorcerers. Sadly, the attempt failed, and despite Jiru's efforts to save Hiro, his parents and all the mages were consumed by the dragon's soul-devouring flames. He tells everyone that anyone who dies from those flames cannot be revived, even using the resurrection spells, which means Hiro will never get to see his parents ever again. Just that, and Hiro regains consciousness while saying Dagon Zot's name out of a nightmare. He immediately talks about finding the dragon and taking revenge. Timit says that he's surely not dumb enough to think that he can defeat the legendary dragon, but Hiro says that he has been training for the past 10 years for this exact moment. Timit underestimates Hiro's strength, but he says that if he gets serious, his real strength is different from what they saw today. Peshate suggests using Grand Trova to defeat Zot, reminding Hiro that it was the same thing his father was trying to do. Hiro then asks them about Nambucco, and Team explains that Nambucco is an evil arms dealer who sparks conflicts between kingdoms for profit. manipulates markets, and drives merchants to bankruptcy, Hiro says that he will find Nambuko and get the Grand Trova to defeat Dagon Zot and heads out with Jiru and Paloopa. While walking through the city, Paloopa demands the money Hiro stole and gets furious when he finds out that he used some of it on a fake crest. The scene then shifts to Sherasharu, who angrily contacts Nambuko using a magical mirror spell. She confronts him about abandoning her in the city, but Nambuko coldly orders her to find the boy that Dagon Zot saved. Back in the city, Hiro and the gang decide to have a meal. Paloopa reminds them that they are working with limited funds and refuses to spend it on a fancy place and takes them to a back alley shop. The shopkeeper refuses to serve them because of their actions this morning, but that a cat-eared girl named Erin jumps down and invites them to a good restaurant. They take her up on this offer and enjoy a nice meal at the place. In return, Erin asks them about Dagon Zot and why it appeared in the city this morning, and then asks if it had something to do with Hiro being Beiro's son. Hearing this, all of them become alert and Hiro asks how she knew that. In response, Erin picks up a piece of meat and tells Hiro to remember her name before getting out of there. Once she walks away, Jiru advises Hiro not to let such pretty girls lead him astray, and then they talk about getting a place to spend the night. But Paloopa says that they will sleep outside because they can't afford it. He also asks for the bill and finds out that Erin also ate there and said that they were her friends and would be paying for her as well, which makes him really mad. Later that night, Hiro leads everyone back to Timit's hideout and asks them to let them spend the night there. At first Timit refuses, but Peshate says that they saved his life and asks Timit to let them stay the night. The next morning, Timit questions Hiro about his plan, but Jiru refuses to let him go immediately. He says that his sword skills are still unpolished and he needs to first train enough to be able to deal with the monsters they might encounter in their journey. They also ask to be able to stay at the hideout for a few more days, and Jiru offers to cook them warm meals in return. After that, Hiro and the gang venture out into the desert, where Jiru lets Hiro get his rear beaten by some measly slimes. Paloopa reminds Jiru that Hiro has no talent as a swordsman, but Jiru says that all he knows is teaching sword skills, so they don't have much of a choice. After that, Jiru decides to go hunt some monsters to help with their money problem, and Paloopa sits down to count his money while watching over Hiro. While talking, Hiro notices a massive sand dragon crawling out of the sand behind Paloopa, and he decides to attack it head-on like the bird brain he is. The attack does 0 damage to the massive dragon, which opens its mouth as if it's going to eat them for lunch, but then everyone gets surprised when they find a beautiful maiden sitting on its tongue. She walks out for the dragon's mouth and thanks it for the ride before sending it back, and then walks up to Hiro and starts listening to his heartbeat like a pervert. She says that it sounds beautiful and then tells Hiro to come with her. The strange girl introduces herself as Sarato and gets closer to Hiro once again while looking into his eyes. Before Hiro can say something, Jiru arrives and suddenly attacks Sarato, but Hiro stops him. Sarato continues behaving strangely as she keeps herself busy picking something from the desert floor while others take the chance to run back to the base. Later, Hiro reflects on Sarato's odd presence. Timit teases him, saying he's just a lonely guy who's fallen for her, which annoys Hiro. Despite being annoyed, Hiro can't help but feel concerned for her. Timit reminds them that they too are orphans and expresses sympathy for Hiro's loss, even if it happened long ago. Meanwhile, in the city, Sherasharu and her soldiers continue looking for Hiro without success. Finally, she decides to use her mirror to find him but fails. Suddenly, Sarato appears walking silently on the road. The scene shifts to a floating castle where the mastermind Nambuko is reviewing business reports and tells Dr. Baharapa to prepare weapons for an upcoming war. Despite urgent matters at hand, Dr. Baharapa oddly shows concern for Sarato's well-being. Sarato mysteriously appears at a thief's hideout, surprising everyone. Timit feels like he's in a typical Chad moment when he's instantly smitten by her beauty, but quickly gets annoyed by her attitude. Hiro asks her if she really came to find him, to which she warns him that she'll find him no matter where he goes. Timit then mocks our hero, saying that his mission to kill Dagon is now postponed because he's found a new lover. Hiro ignores his words and agrees to keep her with him and takes her outside. The next day, Jiru and Paloopa go to the market to buy some things, but they are short on money, so Jiru decides to go on a hunt. Meanwhile, Hiro heads into the desert with Sarato and tries to improve his combat skills. Once again, Hiro faces slimes but struggles as before. Suddenly a wolf attacks them, and in a desperate attempt to impress Sarato, Hiro bravely attacks it but quickly gets defeated. Just as the wolf turns towards Sarato, our hero gathers his last bit of strength to protect her. To his surprise, Sarato remains calm when the wolf mysteriously collapses beside her. Sarato admits she had dozed off right before the wolf's attack. After seeing Hiro's shoulder wound, she easily heals him with her magic, which leaves him stunned. Later, Hiro manages to sell the wolf for a gold coin but complains about how little he earned. His mood changes when he sees a man being dragged away and forced into labor at a magical stone mine. Unable to stand the injustice, Hiro asks Serato to wait and steps in to confront the soldiers, demanding they release the man. But all he gets in return is a quick beating, and he ends up getting captured himself. Now sitting next to the man he tried to save, Hiro learns the horrifying truth that those sent into the mines never return. This motivates him to come up with a plan. Using his fake badge, he attempts to help the man escape. Meanwhile, Sherishara becomes frustrated as her magical mirror stops working. She learns about Hiro's capture in the castle and immediately prepares to take action. In a dimly lit alley, Tamit tries to find Hiro's location, but unexpectedly Serato appears behind him asking about Hiro. Meanwhile, stupid Hiro is still making failed attempts at escaping. Back at the palace, a city's ruler explodes in anger, cursing Nambuko. He opens his locker and learns that his ledger has vanished from its place. As he turns back, he sees Tamit sitting on his chair, threatening to expose his secrets. He put a condition to free Hiro and the mine slaves if he wants to get his ledger back. Just then, royal guards attack Serato, but luckily Juru and Palupa arrive just in time and rescue her. They secure the ledger to trade for hostages. The next day, Hiro and all the prisoners are released from jail. However, Sherisharu continues to follow him and becomes increasingly frustrated upon hearing about his release. Meanwhile, Hiro is happy to see the prisoners reunite with their families and remembers some memories with his own parents. Scene shifts to night, where Tamit is sitting alone in the window and eating when Hiro comes asking him to join everyone at the table. Seeing them eating together like a family brings a smile to his face. The next morning starts off with their casual breakfast and Jiru's warning to Hiro to train alone with him. As they head outside, Hiro notices Serato following them, so he stops and offers her a gold coin to leave him alone. Meanwhile, Serato meets Eren, who invites her to a special place. As Hiro continues training, he becomes frustrated by repeatedly fighting slimes and pleads with Jiru. On the other side, Serato goes to a hot spring with Eren, who reveals the rumors about the spring's healing powers and states it can heal wounds but can't revive the dead. Sherisharu secretly watches their conversation from a distance. Elsewhere, Tamit and Palupa stumble upon a flyer offering a reward of 300 gold coins for capturing a monster in a healing spring. Meanwhile, Juru and Hiro are already locked in a battle. Hiro is tired of all the training and wants to confront Dagonzat, but Juru stresses that relying only on Grand Trova's strength isn't enough to defeat Dagonzat and that Hiro must master multiple skills. He reminds Hiro of the 100 wizards who failed to seal the dragon, which makes Hiro angry and he attacks Juru. On the other hand, at the healing springs, Eren is getting information from Serato, who keeps acting dumb until Eren loses her calm. Sherisharu also joins them soon, and they start talking about the scary monster of the spring. Meanwhile, the fierce battle between Juru and Hiro is still going on when Palupa and Tamit arrive. Juru finally knocks Hiro out, shocking both of them as they run to check on Hiro, but Juru says that he will take Hiro to the healing springs. On the way, Nambuko's guards watch their group as they pass the springs. Hiro and his group enjoy the healing powers of spring when Juru reveals his plan to kill the monster and get the bounty. On the other side, girls keep talking about their type of men when Sherisharu and Eren's ears wiggle. Sensing the presence of someone, Sherisharu reveals about Nambuko and her mission to find Hiro, which stars Eren, and she quickly vanishes with Serato. Sherisharu's guards are still present at the location and waiting for her order. Hiro's wounds have almost recovered when Tamit asks about the scar on his chest, to which Palupa reveals the tragedy of Balbago that led to this scar. Meanwhile, Sherisharu locates Hiro using her magic and issues an order. Juru tells Hiro that their journey isn't just training and many tasks lie ahead that need resolution. This makes Hiro happy that Juru has finally agreed to his plan. Seeing them laughing together, Sherisharu signals her troops to wake up. Just when they are talking, a chaos erupts and a giant octopus creates havoc, capturing Serato. Eren quickly leaves the scene as the monster continues its rampage, attacking everyone around. Monster even captures Sherisharu and throws her away. Juru steps forward and defeats the monster. Hiro finds Serato near the lake and asks about her well-being. Palupa and Tamit give the lovebird some space. After subduing the monster, they bring it to the city and discover the original announcement was a trap set by Sherisharu to capture Hiro. They plan to sell the monster tentacles to wealthy buyers and use the money to fund Hiro's armor quest. However, the armor turns out to be too expensive, forcing them to compromise and settle for cheap chain mail. The next day, the protagonist says goodbye to the kids and prepares to continue his journey. To everyone's surprise, Tamit expresses his desire to join the party despite his friend's objections as they get ready to retrieve the Grand Trova and return. They make a promise and set out on their journey with new determination. On their way they encounter Eren, who reveals that Sherishara was behind the monster incident and expresses her desire to join their party. She provides a map revealing the location of the Nambucco and points at the location on the map where wishes die. However, she is a greedy woman and says she will only share this information if she's allowed to join them. Hiro, being a bit of a pervert and fond of cheap thrills, easily agrees. Seeing this, others let out a sigh and started walking behind them. It continued through the desert until they see a sign warning about dangerous bears in the area. But our hero is only thinking about the dragon and moves ahead while the group stays behind for a moment. Pallupa taunts Eren for being with them, but she replies that Hiro gave her permission. Our boy scolds them for being slow, but falls down a big sandhill faster than your ex slipped from your hands. At that moment, a strange bird flies over them and opens an eye on its belly that allows Nambucco and his minions to watch the group and see where they are. The group keeps moving until they reach a forest where they stop to rest and gather food and water. Timid is amazed by everything because he thought there was nothing outside the city but the desert. Then the same bird returns and attacks the group, but they manage to dodge it and hide behind a rock. However, the bird turns back to charge again, so our boy steps forward to show his training. The bird reaches him, but he fails to hurt it with his sword, so Jeru steps in and drives it away. Afterward, the group wonders where to sleep and decides to go deeper into the forest since the bird is too big to fly there. They make a fire and cook some food. After a while, Jeru wonders why Serato is taking so long to fetch water, so Hiro goes to look for her, but finds Eren playing a harp in a tree. He asked about her plan and the reason why she's helping them, to which she says she just wants information and money. He tells her about his plan to get the Great Trova at all costs and asks her what she'd do if she gets it. She replies that she'd create a hot chick like our hero. Then he leaves to find the spring where Eren said was. Meanwhile, Nambucco is trading his inventions for magic stones and offers his most powerful product that will help to launch a surprise attack on Kilias. Then he contacts Kilias's lord and sells him another product to stop Bonus's attack. Just then Sherishara arrives and Nambucco warns her she has only one more chance or she'll lose her place by their side. He tells her about his watchbirds called Hawkeyes that he sent to attack Hiro. He decides to give one of the birds to locate the group and warns not to fail this time. Meanwhile, Hiro and his group are moving forward and discussing the price of magic stones. Sherisharu then opens a portal to teleport guards to them while Hato and his friends reach a place of clear water pools and rich soil. Just then Sherisharu and her men appear and block their path by summoning giant golems. As she orders her soldiers and golems to start attacking, Jiro gets ready to face them, but before he can move, Hiro runs forward to attack them instead, but is quickly struck down by lightning and collapses just one step away from being roasted. Jiro rushes to help him along with the others. Then they realize Eren has run away like always. Meanwhile, Jiro is fighting the soldiers when Sherisharu attacks Hiro again, but this time she attacks with ice and causes his sword to break, leaving him defenseless against her. Jiro tries to reach them, but a giant golem stops him and forces him to fight it instead. Pallupa throws his luggage to Timit and pulls out strange red cards with a pink-haired bat drawn on them. When he throws it on the ground, a chest with monster legs appears, and from it a girl named Mumu comes out asking what weapon they want. However, he tells her that he wants to escape to save their lives, so all of them enter the chest. Meanwhile, Sherisharu is preparing to take Hiro to Nambucco, but Jiro appears running towards them, which enrages Sherisharu, and she comes up with an even more powerful attack that breaks the ground beneath their feet and traps Jiro in a bubble filled with thorny vines. She stabs Hiro's hand with the tip of her umbrella and keeps on hurting him until Hiro begins to transform, his eyes turning red, his teeth sharpening, and his nails turning into claws. He is exuding a powerful evil aura, and with just a few strikes he takes down several of the Sherisharu's guards. Seeing this, a guard warns her that they must retreat, and she gets scared and opens a portal to flee. Just before Hiro reaches her, he returns to his normal state and collapses to the ground with exhaustion. While unconscious, images of Jiro, his body's mark, and how he fought the men flash in his mind. After some time, Hiro wakes up in the desert and wonders what happened. Just then he spots Nambucco riding his chariot nearby and quickly hides behind a rock. Meanwhile, Mumu teleports the group back to the place where they were before and asks Pallupa to pay her for her services. After getting her payment, she kicks Pallupa in the chest and disappears. Serato and Timit find Jiro lying unconscious, but Serato manages to wake him up by using her magic. She asks him about Hiro, which makes Jiro jump up, and he runs towards the cliff to look for the young master. Everyone else follows him and looks down the cliff only to see all the guards killed by Hiro and wonder what happened. On the other hand, we see Nambuko meeting the purple-haired woman to show her a new weapon that he is developing. Dr. Baharapa is getting the things ready to finally show off the weapons working. They have an orc and some prisoners tied up near a small mountain where they've set up their strange machine. Baharapa activates it and suddenly a red light absorbs both the orc and the humans, fusing them together and creating a new kind of monster. Seeing this, the woman congratulates and praises Nambuko for the successful fusion. Here we discover that Nambuko's plan is to create a powerful army of monsters. Upon seeing this atrocity, Hiro comes out of hiding and rebukes Nambuko for using humans as toys. Since his sword is already broken, he decides to attack Nambuko with his fists and rushes towards him. Nambuko swiftly dodges his attack and places his sword on Hiro's throat, confessing that he was looking for him. When Hiro demands Grand Trova from him, Nambuko mercilessly throws him towards his guards and walks away. Meanwhile, the rest of the group approaches the defeated guards and finds Hiro's broken sword there. Eren wonders if magic was used, but Jiro disagrees with their speculation. Just then they spot human tracks on the ground and decide to follow them through the desert. Meanwhile, Nambuko thanks the royal lady for doing business by giving her a grand feast and his fine young men to please her. Then he leaves, murmuring that he only wants her money for the research. Just then Sherishar rushes towards him to apologize for her failure to capture Hiro, but to her surprise Nambuko praises Hiro's strength and rewards Sherisharu and her men with a bag of money. In response, she hugs him with love and happily shouts that her life belongs to Nambuko. Meanwhile, the group reaches the place where they see the fusion of the orc and humans. Jiro realizes that it couldn't have been done by Hiro and urges everyone to hurry and find him. Just then Hiro appears tied to a chair in a room, and soon after, Nambuko enters with a strange bag filled with weapons. He opens the bag and reveals all kinds of torture tools, mentioning that humans are vulnerable to pain, and he plans to use this as a tool until Hiro answers all his questions. Nambuko grabs his weapon and asks about Hiro's connection with Dagonzat. Hiro questions the reason for his interest in the dragon, to which Nambuko reveals his plan is to generate money by causing chaos with Dagonzat's reappearance. But just as he's about to make a cut on Hiro's arm to make him speak, they hear the royal woman's voice outside complaining about one of the boys. Hearing this, Nambuko places the weapon down and leaves to handle the matter. Using this opportunity, Hiro loosens the rope on one foot and shakes it until the emblem he got in the city falls from his boot. He uses the emblem to cut the rope and frees himself. Meanwhile, Dr. Baharapa detects Serato's scent and follows it with a strange dog-like machine until he reaches Hiro. The doctor asks Hiro why he smells like Serato, to which Hiro confirms he knows her. Baharapa asks where she is and Hiro says they recently separated, to which doctor asks where they met. Scene shifts to Sherisharu, who is enjoying a bonfire and drinks with her men. Her men are surprised at her unusual good mood. Shifting back to Hiro, he tells the story of the sand dragon and how Serato approached to hear his heartbeat. Baharapa is surprised she did that and approaches to listen to Hiro's heartbeat. Suddenly the old man becomes alarmed and tells him his heart doesn't belong to him. Meanwhile, Hiro sets himself free from ropes and attacks Baharapa, but he remains calm and keeps talking about Hiro's heart, believing it's destiny that he and Serato met. Baharapa tells Hiro to protect Serato, and he replies that he's trapped and will be tortured if he doesn't escape. The doctor then gives him a strange potion, instructing him to drink it and think of Serato. Upon drinking it, Hiro begins to float in a purple aura and vanishes. As he disappears, the old man says he hopes he meets Master Theo someday. Moments later, Hiro falls from the sky in front of his group, who are watching Nambuko's camp from a distance. Hiro urges them to leave instantly before anyone finds them. Nambuko finds Baharapa sitting in the chair in place of Hiro and asks what he did with the boy. Baharapa admits he let him go because, like him, he lives for Serato. Nambuko asks if he hadn't already discarded that thing. Baharapa responds that if Nambuko wants he can kill him, but warns that he still has much work to do. Nambuko says once Baharapa finishes the project, he'll pay the price for what he did, and leaves while questioning what Hiro will think when he learns the truth about Serato. After this, Hiro's group takes refuge in a cave located in one of the abandoned magical stone quarries. There the protagonist recounts what happened, and Sarah tells him he smells like Dr. Baharapa, whom she calls Dad. Then Jeru approaches and says that he is worried about Dr. Baharapa's words that Hiro's heart is not his own. He recalls how Dagonzat protected him in the city and wonders if Hiro's heartbeat and scar have some connection with the dragon. The reason he did so is that their hearts might have switched and Dagonzat was protecting his heart and Hiro. He continues explaining that perhaps Beiro swapped his son's heart with that of the dragons 10 years ago as a desperate measure, and that is why Hiro was able to awaken strange powers in moments of fear and pain. He reveals that those powers were hidden in Zod's heart and calls his transformation the dragon form, but Hiro only asks if that means he must die to kill Dagon Zod. Jiro replies that this is something they cannot know for sure, and Hiro walks away frustrated by the idea of having to face his own death to complete his revenge. Jiru and Palupa follow him and Eren tries to do the same, but Tamit tells her it's not right to spy on him and that it's something private. Meanwhile, Sherasharu is playing with a monster called Yellow Dog given to her by Nambuko, and she commands it to find Hiro. Suddenly red eyes emerge from the dog's fur and fly off in search of their target. Sherasharu bids them farewell. Back with Hiro sitting on the edge of a cliff when Jiru and Palupa show up, Palupa approaches and tells him he was adorable as a child, even if now he's just a troubled young man. He reminds him of how he used to curl up in a ball when he was scolded for breaking. Palupa continues saying, Hiro always did that when he felt bad, like during his parents' funeral or when training with Jiru, and things went wrong. Hiro asks where Palupa is going with all this, and he explains that Jiru used to study magic at night after training him, and he spent 10 years learning magic from scratch to understand what Beiro risked to save his son and to take care of him. Palupa says they must protect him and will always be with him. Hiro asks if they'll stay with him until he gets the Grand Trova. He then decides that if he obtains his father's treasure, he might be able to exchange his heart with the dragons and save himself. After that, the group reunites and continues their journey, although Eren disappears again. While locking, Saraato hears Hiro's heartbeat, to which Palupa says it's impossible, but she insists she hears it. Tamit uses the moment to ask if Hiro can use his dragon form at will, but Hiro refuses. Meanwhile, one of Sherasharu's spine eyes follows the group and shows her their location. She then sets out to find him with her soldier. Shortly after the group reaches a town that has been destroyed with no trace of its former inhabitants, they decide to settle there for a while to take a break. Upon approaching, they find a ruined well covered in claw marks. Jiru suddenly has a horrible vision from his past and decides they must investigate before staying. As they move between the buildings, he sees a memory from when he was a child, revealing his tragic past. His parents were an ogre and a human, and when the other ogres saw a human woman in their home, they blamed her for everything being destroyed by humans and decided to hang them both for betraying their kind. Before dying, Jiru's father tells his hidden son that a true hero never ignores a good deed. Meanwhile, in the present, Tamit enters one of the houses to investigate and finds several corpses. Just then his eyes caught a glimpse of two red eyes glaring at him. Meanwhile, Jiru is still lost in the past and recalls how he escaped, collapsed, and was eventually found by Hiro's father, who brings him to his family. Back in the present, Tamit runs out terrified after realizing the killer is still inside and yells for the others to flee. Behind him appears another Orcumen fusion chasing him. Hiro explains it's another of Nambuko's experiments. Jir tries to protect Hiro with his large sword but fails to land the hit due to his injured state. Hiro tries to stop Jiru, but he once again launches an attack on the monster and this time is thrown away like a ragged doll. The enemy goes after Hiro, who tries to activate his dragon form but fails after much effort. Monster once again rushes to attack Hiro, but this time Jiru manages to land a cut on the monster's side. Elsewhere, Eren meets with Sherasharu to give more information to Nambuko, but they leave poor Sherasharu outside and close the door. Alone with him, she reveals that Hiro is Beiro's son and has the dragon's heart inside him. Nambuko distrusts Eren and asks why she's telling him this. She responds that she wants her reward for being a good girl and giving him useful information. To thank her, Nambuko gives her an item called Alsha and tells her that if Hiro is Beiro's son, he will come for the Grand Trova. Nambuko then calls Sherasharu into the room as Eren leaves. He asks her to kill Hiro and she instantly agrees. Later, Eren uses the silver given to her by Nambuko and arrives at the village where the group is staying. The group stops at Arcano, which is a station where various roads intersect, and there are a number of shops. Hiro wants to buy a sword, but Palupa warns it must be cheap since they have little money and a long journey ahead. They reach an inn where they plan to stay a while, though they'll have to cook and eat in their room to save money. Hiro tries several swords in the shop until Jir finds a shorter and lighter blade that suits him better. The protagonist excitedly swings it, showing it to Saraato, who admits it's a little scary, but he decides to take it anyway. Ornament and stops in front of the shop. The seller tries to convince them to buy it and even offers them a discount, but it's too expensive. So Saraato shows Hiro the coin he gave her and says she liked that shiny stone very much, so there's no need to buy her anything. They leave the store and meet up with Jiru. Meanwhile, Eren goes to a weapon shop and buys 5 enchanted arrows with magical tails capable of easily taking down a large monster. That night the group gathers for dinner and discusses what Baharappa said about Master Theo, where Hiro discovers that Theo was his father's doctor. Sarato explains that she knows him and their friends, which shocks everyone. Timit suggests meeting Theo to get more information. With that, they all decide to look for the doctor starting tomorrow and head to their rooms to sleep while Sarato is still up in her room holding the coin in her hand. Jiro and Hiro talk about the previous town and Hiro asks why Jiro saved him, to which Jiro replies it's just his job. When he asks why he's not sleeping, Hiro says it's because he has a dragon inside and doesn't feel at ease. But that night something strange begins. A shadow in the city starts to stir and grow. A strange shadow moves again and attacks a cat sleeping nearby, leaving only its bell. Soon after, explosions occur outside the inn and the group rushes out to see what's happening. A dragon-shaped shadow is destroying houses and absorbing people it touches with its long limbs. Our protagonist runs towards the plaza to get a closer look at the shadow and wonders if it's Dagon Zot. Meanwhile, the shadow looms further and keeps on devouring the villagers. Hiro rushes to attack it, making Sarato and others concerned, but Jur stops him. Just then the shadow attacks Hiro, but Jur pushes him aside and stabs the ground to stop it. The shadow dodges his attack and captures him instead. Sarato tries to help, but Timit holds her back. She becomes more worried as she realizes that the creature is not Dagon Zot. Then Sharisharu appears beside Hiro and we learn the monster is an invention of Nambuko made by Baharappa and given to her. Meanwhile, Sarato and the group keep running to Hiro until an explosion occurs near them. Sharishar orders the creature named Daku to eat Juru while she aims the spiked tip of her umbrella at Hiro's heart. Baharappa is relieved to see Sarato through a mirror. Nambuko, who is standing behind him, orders him to keep his eyes on Hiro. Baharappa says they shouldn't kill him because he is Sarato's destiny. On the other side, Sharishar launches a fierce attack on Hiro, but he grabs her weapon before it pierces his chest and she electrocutes him through it. We discover Nambuko's plan is to endanger the dragon's hearts so that Dagon Zot appears. Sharisharu keeps pushing her weapon toward Hiro's heart, but he yells at her not to hurt Juru and is distracting her. She still manages to pierce his skin slightly, triggering him into a full frenzy, and he activates his dragon form and throws her back with sheer energy. Meanwhile, Baharappa is confused about which inner power he should use. Surrounded by dark lightning, Hiro faces Nambuko's guards emerging from the shadows. Juru, who is still engulfed by the shadow, gets free with a flying arrow sent by Eren. Sharishar orders Daku to attack Hiro and the shadow rushes towards him trying to devour him, but Dagon Zot's powers break it into tiny pieces, leaving everyone shocked. Suddenly Dagon Zot's claws start emerging and it appears roaring in its full form. Despite his warm state, Hiro grabs a sword and instinctively strikes at the dragon but hits Jiru instead. Sharisharu and her team retreat, and all the surveillance cameras watching Hiro explode in front of the Baharappa and Nambuko. Hiro regains consciousness and Sarato suddenly feels very ill. Moments later, everyone rushes to Jiro lying in a pool of blood and Hiro realizes what he has done and starts crying. The next morning, Jiro is resting in badly injured and washed over by Sarato and Hiro. Hiro is feeling guilty and sad for attacking him. Meanwhile, in the kitchen, Palupa expresses dissatisfaction with the taste of the food he prepared. Suddenly, Jiro wakes up bringing a sense of relief. Despite the hero's recovery, Jiro notices the smell of Palupa's cooking and acknowledges his efforts. The hero feels guilty for attacking Jiro, but Jiro and Palupa assure him that the attack wasn't his true self. Still, the hero is deeply affected by the event and feels sad about the damage done. His concern increases when Sarato warns him about the risks of healing Jir's wounds. Hiro suggests to Jir to take some rest, but he is concerned that Hiro's dragon form is dangerous, and if he keeps using it one day he will be unable to cancel the transformation and be stuck like that forever. Afterward, Jir lies back down and suggests they ask Master Theo if he knows anything about it and falls unconscious once more. Meanwhile, the conflict arises between Palupa and Mumu over rare Seraphuria herbs needed for Jir's treatment, and Mumu leaves without giving the medicine. Timit suggests returning to the healing springs, but Palupa fears it may not be enough. Then Eren presents a solution and directs them to the Kuru-Aru Canyon Valley where the herbs are found. Hiro and Sarato instantly rush outside to begin their journey. Meanwhile, Nambuko is receiving massive orders for weapons, ammunition and armor from various kingdoms and even asks for false information to be spread that one of the nations has captured the dragon to increase fear and boost sales. Sharisharu is locked in her room with Yellow Dog and chatting nonsense with it. On the other hand, Hiro expresses frustration at the long distance they must travel, but Sarato reassures him that despite the journey's length, they will find Serafuria and he will be okay. Meanwhile, Eren is at the inn caring for Jiru when Tommen approaches the group and expresses his suspicions about Sarato, saying she never eats and smiles. He's also curious why Sherasharu always knows where they are. He points out that Baharapa works with Nambuko and Sarato is connected to him, so he doesn't trust her, but they don't have any proof, so Palupa suggests that he stay silent and focus on Jiru's recovery first. Back in the canyon, Hiro and Sarato reach the area where the herb is located, but it's very far down. Hiro tells Sarato to wait above, but she refuses and goes with him, determined to help Jiru. After some time searching the canyon floor, they find nothing until a giant horned frog emerges from the tall grass and attacks them. Sarato pushes Hiro out of his reach and they escape together, slipping on the ground as it starts to rain. Sarato then spots a mound of earth and sees the needed plant on top. The protagonist excitedly runs to climb up to retrieve it. Meanwhile, Tamit talks about the shadow attack on Hiro and wonders if Nambuko has ordered Sherasharu to capture him again. Eren reveals that this time he ordered her to kill Hiro and explains that she overheard Nambuko himself and that she was able to spy on Nambuko using an Alicia. She says maybe Nambuko wants to understand the relationship between Hiro and Dagonzug, which finally makes sense to Palupa why they were all brought together. Back there, Hiro tries to pull the herb from the ground with all his strength but fails. Suddenly the ground begins to shake and a huge turtle appears, and he realizes the mountain where the herb is growing is actually the turtle's shell. Meanwhile, Eren finally explains to the others why they must hurry and go to the land where wishes die if he want to get Grand Trova to avenge his parents. She reveals the false rumors about Dagon Zot among the three kingdoms, which reminds Palupa of Nambuko's strategy to bring chaos and sell more and more weapons. Hiro was still struggling to get Serafuria while the giant turtle started walking, adding more to the chaos. Eren agrees with Palupa and explains that with the increase in demand for weapons, the prices of magic stones are also rising, and Nambuko is secretly controlling the price of the magic stone, so he's getting incredibly rich quickly. Hiro is still trying to get the plant but slits from the top fallen again. Eren praises Hiro's resolve, but she is worried that if this continues, a war will break out across the continent, and it will be impossible to cross the battlefield to reach Nambuko. They must hurry to find the Great Trova to avenge their parents and end it all. When Palupa jokes about what she wants in return, she casually brushes it off. Eventually, Hiro manages to get the herb called Serafuria, but he falls from the turtle and Sarato catches him in her arms. She laughs as she holds him, and as they descend, he tells her it's the first time he's ever seen her smile. Sarato looks down for a moment but then smiles again, and the two share a happy glance. Once they return home, the medicine made with Serafuria works and Jiru begins to recover. We then see Tamit using Eren's Alshina to communicate with Peshaite and is shocked to hear some strange news. Meanwhile, Jur thanks Hiro for saving him and Sarato also admires his efforts. Just then Tamit comes back in the room and returns Alshina to Eren, then shares the terrible news that in his city people are being exploited to work in the mines. They are sent there to die and no food reaches them. He asks Eren if war occurs, what will be the fate of Lince? He starts crying and vows to get the Great Trova for them. Seeing him like this, Sarato also sheds a tear. Hiro asks Palupa for details. The group then decides to rest and prepare to continue their journey the next morning. A few hours later, everyone leaves the village and Tamit tells Palupa that he thinks Sarato's presence no longer bothers him because he saw tears in her eyes when he was crying. As they walk further, Jiru informs Hiro that Master Theo lives in these holy mountains. Hiro is confused about meeting Theo as he is more concerned about the upcoming war. Jiru assures him that before getting Grand Trova, meeting Theo will be more helpful for them. As they climb holy mountains, a strange old man with green hair and sharp ears appears floating next to the group of Jiru and Palupa, and they recognize him as Master Theo, who asks if they've brought him any gift. But upon seeing Sarato, he forgets about that and goes to hug her since they know each other from before. Sarato hugging Master Theo makes the hero annoyed and confused. A while later, the group arrives at a cave with Master Theo, who reveals that both Baharapa and Beiro were his students. With that, he heads inside with Sarato still complaining about not getting any presents. Inside the cave they sit together and Jur tells him about Hiro's dragon form and their reason for coming there. Suddenly Theo uses his soul-devouring flames, which are an imitation of Dagon Zot's flames, but they don't devour any soul. He reveals he is aware of Balbago, where countless souls were lost. the ground was scorched, and Dagonzat's heart was replaced with Hiro. He asks Hiro about his feelings, to which he reveals his wish to avenge his parents before something happens to his body. Suddenly Hiro confronts the master, asking why he didn't do anything to save his parents and prevent the tragedy of that battle. But the wizard answers that just as one cannot stop Mother Nature, humans also cannot stop an evil dragon. Then the old man stands up and tells Hiro to come with him because they are going to practice magic, but it annoys Hiro since he is a swordsman, not a mage. But Jiro calms him down and tells him that he might be going to teach him some way to handle the dragon form. Before starting a training outside, the master gets rid of Jiro and also of Tamit with the excuse that he needs water and meat, and Eren also leaves for a while. First, the master asks Hiro about the terrain's level and tells him to take a step forward in a straight line. Next, he gives him a paper with Sarato's face that he drew and asks Hiro to crumple and flatten it several times, although he doesn't understand why. Meanwhile, Eren listens from a distant hill with her Alsha to the latest war news, hearing that all the kingdoms have raised their flags, gathered their infantry, and cancelled all the training sessions. She gets concerned and concludes that war is very close to starting. After a while of training, the paper master orders Hiro to throw it away, but he refuses. Sarato approaches Hiro and asks to see the drawing of her, and when he shows it to the master, they both look at it strangely because of their relationship. Meanwhile, Jiro hunts a wild animal for meat and is on his way back to the cave. For the next test, Theo asks Hiro to choose a stone, and he does. So although Sarato takes the opportunity to show him the coin he gave her, he says that this is the stone he gave her. To that the master replies that it's very pretty and suits her well. Then the old man tells Hiro to choose where he wants the stone to fall, and he does, but doesn't fall where he would have liked. Still, the master corrects him and says that it's the exact place where it fell. At that moment, Hiro threatens the master with his sword and Palupa scolds him, but finally the old man decides to train a little with the sword alongside him. The scene shifts to Sherasharu, who is sitting along with her yellow dog when her guard arrives, asking about her well-being. Meanwhile, Theo stands in front of Hiro and grabs something invisible with his hands, which he calls the Koku blade, and launches a slash towards Sarato's magical staff and hits it. He then explains that it is magic, even though he calls it a sword, and asks Hiro to try using it too. Hiro imitates the master and pretends to grab a kind of invisible sword and launches a slash in a straight line that ends up cutting a nearby rock. Hiro thinks this is a waste of time, but the master congratulates him and they continue training for hours while the others do various tasks until Nike falls and everyone goes to rest after a long day full of activities. Meanwhile, Sherasharu is feeling very depressed and locked in her room when suddenly a guard enters and asks her to go to Nambuko. Jiro and Theo talk about Hiro and how much he resembles his father Beiro. He then tells Jiro that Hiro lacks the sword talent, to which Jiro agrees with him and reveals that even after 10 years, Hiro's swordsmanship skills are weak, but his desire to avenge his parents is strong, and that is the reason they are still on this journey. But after studying magic for years, he comes to know that Hiro has great potential for magic, and it's truly lucky since an ordinary person couldn't bear carrying a dragon's heart. The master continues telling Jiro about Hiro's power and warns him that he's very dangerous, explaining that when he launched the first invisible sword attack, the slash split without touching Sarato's staff and pierced the old man, almost forcing him to defend himself. He also reveals that Sarato and Hiro are part of a destined couple who must always remain united, which greatly surprises Jiro. Meanwhile, Sherasharu meets up with Nambuko, who hugs her happily and takes her somewhere else, leaving the remaining work to Baharapa. The next morning, Hiro faces one of Theo's strange challenges again, but ends up getting angry and wants to quit. Hearing his complaining, everyone wakes up from sleep asking about the matter. Just as Hiro is about to walk inside, Theo proposes a graduation exam, and Hiro agrees, so he asks him to cut him with a Koko sword from where he's standing without moving. Annoyed because he believes he can't use magic, Hiro prepares and launches a slash, but apparently nothing happens. Still, the old man begins to complain dramatically, saying he's been hurt and declares that Hager has graduated and can leave now. Everyone bids farewell to Theo and leaves the cave. As the group walks away, it's revealed that the old man actually protected himself from the powerful attack using defensive magic, and concludes that Beiro, by replacing his son's heart with that of the dragon, managed to keep the power under control. Thus the group's journey continues, passing through cities, rivers and forests until they reach the Mort Desert, beyond which lies their destination. They stop there for some time chatting about how long it will take to cross the desert. Hiro starts running through the desert when an enemy bird appears, and Jiro finishes him with a sword slash. Timit then wonders how the enemies always know their location, and at that moment Erin's Alsha device activates, and they hear Nambuko's voice asking for intel. Erin is finally revealed to be a traitor infiltrated in the group and finds herself in serious trouble. She picks up all Sheena from the ground and the group asks her to explain. She doesn't deny anything and reveals that she's an informant for Nambuko. Jiru seriously considers killing Erin and even points his sword at her for a second, but ultimately decides it would be pointless. Everyone looks at Erin with disappointment and anger and begins to walk away through the desert despite her warning that the path ahead is very harsh. We see Sharisharu is about to follow one of Nambuko's orders. When her guard tries to stop her, she replies that she's only going to fulfill Nambuko's wishes and asks Palupa to activate his invention. Suddenly Sharishara enters a sort of crystal capsule. Once she enters, Baharapa activates the machine and the crystal capsules begin to glow, much to the astonishment of the guard. Back with Hiro, he and his group walk through the infernal desert, barely enduring the extreme heat. Meanwhile, we see that one of the kingdoms is preparing for the final battle among all nations. He is following the false information given by Nambuko. The king talks about his enemy kingdom Amoria, where the king Alvarez has allied with the king of Ishelfine to bring chaos to the continent with the Dagon Zot. Therefore, King Caristo has decided to mobilize his troops to the neutral zone to save the people and put an end to everything. Once night falls, Hiro and his group camp in the middle of the desert, but they encounter more trouble because nights in such places are very cold, unlike the unbearable heat during the day. Palupa asks the distance to land where wishes die, and Jira replies that they should prepare to spend 3 more nights in the desert. For a moment we see that the kingdom of Street Amoria also believes that the other 2 kingdoms have allied to use the dragon, so he orders all the soldiers to go to Balbago and stop them at any cost. The next morning the group continues walking through the desert and is nearly out of water. Suddenly Palupa falls into a trap made by a giant sandworm called Jangalo. Just as the monster is about to eat him, Erin suddenly appears and throws down a rope to pull him out. Though she saves Palupa, Hiro is angry to see her and tells her to leave. But Erin warns them about the wrong way and shows them the body of a dead monster as a sign of danger. At the same time, the kingdom of Ashopi falls into Nambuko's trap. Thinking 2 other kingdoms have teamed up, back in the desert a huge sandstorm hits and separates the group. Palupa wakes up next to Erin, who suggests looking for an oasis, while Jur finds Timit weak and alone. Hiro finds himself with Saraato in the middle of the blazing desert. Palupa refuses Erin's help but soon collapses from exhaustion and the next day wakes up feeling better thanks to her. Saraato sees the condition of Hiro getting worse, so she gets up to find water and gives it to him just in time. The 2 groups slowly reunite at the oasis where they help to on the other side. Sharisharu appears in front of Saraato and Hiro, looking much stronger after she is fused with a yellow dog. She mocks the weak state of Hiro and knocks out Saraato to capture Hiro and teleports him to Nambuko using a magic stone. Meanwhile, the countries gather their armies in Balagago, preparing for the final battle once again at the same place as 10 years ago. When Hiro wakes up, he finds himself before Nambuko and Sharisharu. Despite everything, he only cares about his father's treasure and demands it back. He draws his sword and attempts to strike Nambuko, but Nambuko blocks him and threatens him, revealing that they already knew each other. Nambuko explains that he was present at the Balbaigo disaster where he obtained the Great Trova. He confesses that he was the one who fired the arrow that wounded Beiro and prevented him from sealing the dragon. He reveals that even back then he had the same plan to bring chaos so the countries would spend all their wealth and he could become rich. Hiro accuses him of killing his parents, but Nambuko denies it and shifts the blame to Dagon Zot. He then asks Hiram how it feels to carry the heart of the dragon that was believed to be dead for 10 years. He recalls how he escaped unscathed thanks to a blood crystal from a dragon and was fascinated by the evil power of Dagon Zot's flames. He admires the power and beauty of Evil Dragon. Hiro accuses him of glorifying something that caused the death of hundreds, including his parents. Once again, Hiro launches an attack but fails, to which Nambuko reveals his intention that he will not kill Hiro because control in the dragon depends on him being alive. Meanwhile, the desert group tries to find Hiro and Saraato using Erin's device, and suddenly they hear Sarato's voice faintly and start running in that direction. They find her alone in a giant crystallized stone with her magic staff. Jiru gets worried, saying her actions might attract a dragon, and insists on helping her. Still, she keeps hitting the stone and calling out for Hiro until her staff breaks, and then a dragon appears at full speed. The dragon opens its mouth and takes in Saraato, to which Jiru runs to attack it. Suddenly the dragon opens its mouth and reveals Saraato, who tells them it's her friend and it will take them to Hiro. Palupa then remembers that when they first met her, she also came out of a dragon's mouth. We then see everyone flying over the desert on the red dragon with Serato sitting inside its mouth. Meanwhile, Nambuko communicates with Baharapa to ask about the preparations, and the doctor says the magic remaining in Jirokia's sphere will be compressed in their mega magic reactor, and then they will send these reactors to Balagago. They just need to add the sealing treasure to the device they're building to conquer the continent. However, Baharapa warns that they'll need all the energy from the mansion to acquire the necessary power, and Nambuko agrees. At that moment, the doctor detects something very strange on his radar, and then we see the group advancing on the dragon. As they continue advancing on the dragon toward the mansion, Tamit comments that it's more like a mansion resembling a demon's castle. Eren explains that it was once ruled by one called Jirokius. Suddenly a large spear is shot from the enemy base, fatally wounding the dragon, which falls dead in a lower area of the fortress. The group manages to hide in time while Nambuko's minions approach. The mansion is higher up and there's no way to reach it since they can't use Mumu anymore. Just then a portal opens and Baharapa appears calling for Serato. Upon seeing him, she quickly approaches. The doctor is overjoyed to see his daughter and tells her they need to leave immediately, so he creates another portal and everyone escapes just in time. Once they are safe, Jiru and the others wonder if Serato is really Baharapa's daughter, but she explains that her creation was at Nambuko's request. The group doesn't understand what she is, but the doctor clarifies that she's a magical doll he created. Upon hearing this, Palupa asks Tamit if he knew, and the boy responds that he had his suspicions, knowing somehow she wasn't like them. Palupa feels bad for not realizing earlier despite that she didn't. Jir asks the reason for Serato's creation. Baharapa explains that Nambuko was present in the greatest battle of Balbago 10 years ago, but Jiru says that's impossible because only he and Hiro survived the dragon and its soul-devouring flames. Baharapa reveals that he survived thanks to the dragon's blood crystal form with Dagon Zot's blood. He then recounts how Nambuko asked him to create the greatest warrior with those crystals, someone who'd even fight in a place full of Borisol's flames. However, Baharapa wasn't interested in that, so he created a masterpiece, and he reveals that the masterpiece is Serato. She's full of beauty and kindness, although this enraged Nambuko, who ordered her to be discarded. The doctor pretended to destroy her, but in reality he let her escape to be free. Serato then tells the doctor about Hiro, to which he reveals that what attracted her was the sound of his heart. At this point, Jiru confesses that Hiro's heart was exchanged with Dagon Zot's heart 10 years ago. At that moment, Baharapa realizes the connection between Hiro's heart and the crystal with which Serato was created. Serato interrupts and tells him she must go to Hiro right away, but the doctor refuses and asks her to leave the boy as the time of the dragon is soon to come and Nambuko will summon Dagon Zot. He suggests that he probably wants to use her too. However, Serato disobeys the doctor of refusing to leave Hiro to his fate and runs off with Eren. Upon seeing this, Baharapa wonders if she has her own consciousness now, as she had never disobeyed him before, and asks the rest of the group to look after her. Palupa and Tamit are not happy with the old man's words, but Jiru immediately responds that they will take care of her and save Hiro from Nambuko. The group then arrives at a room with a giant stone, and suddenly Nambuko and Sherasharu appear holding Hiro. Serato asks to take Hiro's place, but he refuses and explains that he needs both of them for his plan. At that moment they threaten to harm Hiro, so Serato walks toward them. Sherasharu then opens a portal and sends the three of them to Balbago. Jiru tries to stop them but is blocked by Sherasharu, who tells him to fight with her. Once in Balbago, and Nambuko forces Hiro to witness the place where his fate was forged 10 years ago. Suddenly the solar eclipse begins and the soldiers of the kingdoms prepare for the worst, thinking it's the end of the world. Thus the hour of the dragon starts and the magical stones in Balbago, charged with the remaining energy of Jirokias, are finally activated. Sherasharu warns the group that there's nothing they can do and reveals Nambuko's true plan to gather the soldiers of the three nations to fuse them with Dagon Zot and create something even greater than the evil dragon. Suddenly the sphere of Jirokias where they are located begins to close, to which Shur explains she's about to send its energy to Balbago. The group tells Sherasharu that everyone will die, but she replies that even Nambuko will die there. Then a screen appears to communicate with the whole sphere. Nambuko tells them he will use all the magic of their souls and thanks them for sacrificing themselves for his plan. All his men servants and helpers begin to scream and beg for help except Sherasharu, who still believes she'll be saved. However, he cuts communication and Sherasharu realizes she never mattered to him either, so she begins to cry in despair and rage. Baharapa then tells the group will try to get them out and reveals that his real body is in Balbago. Meanwhile, Nambuko tells Sarato that something within her will soon awaken, but just then the real Baharapa appears and tries to stop him. Still, this wasn't part of Nambuko's plan, so he attacked the old man, leaving him badly injured. Nambuko then looks directly at Sarato and casts a spell that prevents her from disobeying his orders and transforms her, revealing a new form. Nambuko commands her to fight Hiro, explaining that the fear he feels will trigger Dagonzat's heart inside him and summon the dragon. Hiro begs Sarato not to obey, making it clear he doesn't want to fight her, but she begins attacking him mercilessly. Meanwhile, in this fear, everything is shattering as it transfers its energy to Balbago. They try to find a way out but fail and realize that they can create a hole with Muma's help. However, Mumu says she can't enter the enclosed space of Jirokias' sphere. Palupa asks if there's a weapon strong enough to break the sphere, and she says yes, so everyone offers her money, weapons and jewels as payment to get out. Before leaving, Jiro speaks to Sharisharu and tells her that once they escape she must take them to Balbago. She agrees and angrily asks Jiro to let her handle Nambuko. Moments later, Mumu aims a magic cannon from outside the sphere and fires, piercing its various layers. Meanwhile, Hiro begins to adopt his dragon form as Sarato attacks him and Nambuko encourages the transformation. Once Hiro gives into his dragon form, he urges both of them to fight, calling it a beautiful battle between two people bound by fate. The dragon mark continues spreading across Hiro's body and he attacks Sarato just as his friends teleport there. Hiro flies in the air and fiercely charges at her, but she easily defends herself. Then he prepares an attack from above and continues fighting. Seeing this, Jiro jumps in but is shockingly attacked by Sharisharu's sword. He asks why she did it and we see her eyes glowing with the same color as Sarato's. When Nambuko activated the obedience spell, Sharisharu starts crying and says she did it because she's an idiot and prepares to fight Jiro. Sarato and Hiro continue exchanging blows. Nambuko enjoys their fight for some time, then orders her to finish him. Hiro keeps on attacking Sarato until she throws him away. Using her long hair, she immobilizes him midair and begins smashing him into the ground repeatedly, then approaches to stab him with sharp weapons on her head. But just before she can strike, something hits Sarato and sends her flying backward and everything fills with smoke. Smoke rises and suddenly the sun turns red, signaling that the hour of the dragon has fully arrived. In front of them appears Dagonzat in his full furious form. Nambuko immediately activates his machine and the dragon is struck by several beams of light. However, because he wanted all that power to himself, Nambuko used the Grand Trova to absorb Dagon's essence and merge with the beast, becoming an evil hybrid overlord. Dr. Baharapa and the others were shocked by what Nambuko did, but when Hiro tried to attack him, Nambuko held him back with one hand and kicked his ass. While he was in the sky, Hiro got beaten up so much that he started to see visions of his parents who told him not to give up, so he broke out of Nambuko's hold and landed back down like a true protagonist, but Nambuko punched him away so easily. Meanwhile, Eren and the others forced Dr. Baharapa to tell them how they could stop the machine before Nambuko could burn everything back to the Stone Age. Nambuko was about to unleash Hell's Inferno on Hiro when Jiru and the others reversed the spell on the magical reactor and removed the Grand Trova to make him powerless. But they were too late because Nambuko had already merged with Dagonzat, making him an immortal being, and he destroyed the entire place with his soul-devouring flames. However, Sarato had used her divine wings to protect Hiro, but when Nambuko saw this, he stabbed her back and pulled out the dragon blood crystal that was keeping her alive. Seeing that the love of his life was dead, Hiro got up and sliced off Nambuko's arm with his sword. While he was shocked that anyone could actually harm his new body, Hiro walked back and finished him off with a blinding light sword combo. Now that Nambuko was defeated, Dagonzat appeared once again for the final showdown, and Hiro wondered if he was strong enough to actually defeat the creature that killed his parents. But when he recalled his training with Master Theo, Hiro collected the Grand Trova from Tamit and used it to make a visible Koku blade before dashing forward to stab Dagonzat on his scar. Hiro took his heart out from the Dragon Lord's chest, but instead of switching it with the one he already had, he went down and placed the heart inside Sarato to turn her into an actual human girl. As Sarato slowly came back to life, Dagonzat's body began to fade away because he no longer had a heart. While Jiru was still shocked by what Hiro had done, Palupa and the others began to fight over who should keep the Grand Trova. However, the morons let the crystal smash on the ground, and Jiru said that the item wasn't even the Grand Trova but the Soul Stone, which Hiro's father had used to trap Dagonzat many years ago. Paloopa then asked him how Hiro was able to harness such power to stab the Dragon Lord, and Jiru told them what Master Theo had said about Hiro, that he was a magical prodigy just like his father. Eren and Tamit teased Hiro for behaving like Prince Charming, but when Sarato asked them about her father, Paloopa gave her the remains of his walking stick, saying that he had died in the flames that Nambucco unleashed. Sarato cried when she heard the bad news, but Jiru noticed that the soldiers were leaving, so Eren said that she used her phone to tell them the truth about how Nambucco had tricked them into fighting each other. Mumu came back to teleport them away, and after they had buried Dr. Baharapa, Hiro gave Tamit his royal badge, saying that he was the youngest but also the bravest one out of all of them. Jiru asked him what he wanted to do now that he had unlocked his magical powers, but Hiro said that nothing has changed because all he needed for a great adventure were his sword and his friends.